A ceasefire announced, and within hours, the region is back on fire. An Iranian oil refinery hit, missiles intercepted over the UAE, drone swarms targeting Kuwait. The truce was meant to stop the war, but the strikes never stopped. So the question now, is this a ceasefire or just a pause before something bigger? A ceasefire meant to halt a widening conflict has instead been followed by fresh attacks across the Gulf, raising urgent questions about whether the agreement is already unraveling. Just hours after the United States, Iran and Israel announced a 2-week truce. Iranian state television reported that an oil refinery on Lavan Island had come under attack. Firefighters were deployed to contain the blaze, and while no injuries were reported, authorities did not specify who was responsible. At nearly the same time, tensions escalated beyond Iran's borders. Iran launched missile and drone attacks on Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates after airstrikes against oil facilities on Iran's Lavan Island on the morning of April 8th, IRIB said in a report.
Missile and drone attacks on the Emirates and Kuwait have taken place a few hours after the targeting of Lavan Island oil facilities in Iran.
The United Arab Emirates confirmed that its air defense systems had been activated in response to an incoming Iranian missile barrage. Kuwait also reported sustained military pressure, the country's Ministry of Defense said.
Kuwaiti air defense systems have been actively responding since 8 a.m. to an intensive wave of hostile drone attacks launched from Iran.
Official spokesperson Colonel Saud Abdulaziz Al-Atwan stated that a total of 28 drones were detected targeting various locations across the country, including at least 8 aimed directly at Kuwait. The developments have cast doubt over the effectiveness of the ceasefire. One key issue appears to be the limited scope of the agreement. The ceasefire does not extend to all active fronts, notably excluding Israeli military operations in Lebanon. As a result, conflict in certain areas continues despite the broader understanding between Washington and Tehran. Deep mistrust between the parties is also undermining the truce. Both the United States and Iran remain wary of each other's intentions, with concerns that the pause in fighting may be temporary and could quickly give way to renewed escalation once the 2-week period ends. Earlier in the day, the ceasefire had been presented as a last-minute diplomatic breakthrough. The agreement allowed US President Donald Trump to step back from threats of a large-scale bombing campaign, but significant uncertainties remain over its terms and enforcement. US Vice President J.D. Vance described the arrangement as a fragile truce.
The president did is he basically issued an ultimatum to the Iranians. He said, open up the straits, stop trying to hold the world's economy hostage, and we'll engage in a ceasefire. And that's exactly the agreement that we came to last night. The Iranians have agreed to open up the straits. The United States has agreed to stop attacking. And not just the United States, but also our allies have agreed to stop attacking. And that is the basis of this fragile truce that we have, which is now, 8 to 12 hours old.
There is also disagreement over whether the ceasefire applies to ongoing operations in Lebanon. While some mediators suggested that hostilities there would be paused, Israel has indicated that it does not consider itself bound by such terms and killed hundreds in latest strikes in the heart of Beirut. Meanwhile, reactions on the ground in Iran highlight the domestic pressures shaping the conflict. In Tehran, pro-government demonstrators gathered following the ceasefire announcement, chanting slogans against the United States and Israel and burning flags, underscoring the intensity of sentiment among hardliners. The sequence of events, an attack on Iranian oil infrastructure, followed by reported missile and drone activity targeting Gulf states, points to a rapidly evolving and volatile situation. Iranian state media linked the strikes on Kuwait and the UAE to the earlier attack on Lavin Island, suggesting a cycle of action and retaliation already in motion. After almost 40 days of war, and less than 2 hours before his own midnight deadline, US President Donald Trump has announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran, stepping back from threats that had unsettled governments across the world. Writing on Truth Social, Trump said he had agreed to suspend military operations following calls with Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir, who asked him to hold off. The deal was conditional on Iran reopening the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway through which roughly a fifth of the world's oil passes.
I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi followed with a statement on behalf of the Supreme National Security Council, saying Tehran would halt counterattacks and allow passage through the strait, but only in coordination with Iranian armed forces.
If attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will stop their defensive operations. For a period of 2 weeks, the passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations.
Pakistan's Prime Minister was the quickest to declare it a success. Sharif posted on X,
"With the greatest humility, I am pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. I warmly welcome the sagacious gesture and extend deepest gratitude to the leadership of both the countries and invite their delegations to Islamabad on Friday, 10th of April 2026, to further negotiate for a conclusive agreement to settle all disputes."
Israel had a different reading. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office welcomed the suspension of strikes, but pushed back sharply on Sharif's Lebanon claim, saying the ceasefire covered only Iran. Washington, his office added, had assured Tel Aviv it remained committed to their shared goals in the upcoming negotiations. Both Washington and Tehran then moved to claim the outcome as a victory. The White House went first.
"This is a victory for the United States that President Trump and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump estimated this would be a 4 to 6 week operation."
Tehran offered a starkly different account. Iranian state television declared that the US had suffered an undeniable, historic, and crushing defeat, and that Washington had been forced to accept Iran's 10-point plan in full, including sanctions relief, enrichment rights, and a withdrawal of US combat forces from the region.
Iran has achieved a great victory and forced America, the criminal, to accept Iran's 10-point plan, in which it has, in principle, committed to non-aggression, the continuation of Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance of enrichment, the lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions, the termination of all resolutions of the UN Security Council and the Board of Governors, the payment of compensation to Iran, the withdrawal of US combat forces from the region, and a halt to the war on all fronts, including against the heroic Islamic resistance of Lebanon. We congratulate this victory to all the people of Iran and emphasize that until the finalization of the details of this victory, there remains a need for steadfastness, prudent management by officials, and the preservation of unity and solidarity among the people of Iran.
Ebrahim Azizi, the head of the Iranian Parliament's National Security Commission, went even further, saying that the United States never really had an option but to surrender.
We told you from the start there is no option but to surrender to Great Iran.
Whether the temporary beginning will result in a lasting settlement or simply a pause before a second round depends entirely on what happens in Islamabad and whether either side believes it actually won.